Shaw, founder and president of Southern Crescent Women in Business, and this is How to Do Business with Clayton County. We are sponsored today by the Alzheimer's Services Center with Ms. Sylvia Dennis Ray as the executive director. So again, we partnered with Commissioner DeMont Davis of District 4 in Clayton County, and we will learn a little bit more about him as soon as we hear from our sponsor.
My name is Sylvia Dennis Ray. I am the Executive Director of the Alzheimer's Services Center. We have weekend respite where you can bring your loved one for the weekend, knowing that they're in a safe environment. We have skilled nurses who are here. They're here with the daycare, and they're also here on the weekend with the respite care. Here at the Alzheimer's Services Center, we have an internship program. Also have volunteers to come in and help out in our programs, help out with our programming department, or even in the office. We also accept donations. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and how we get our funding is through donations, grants, and other things. So donate to our center and help out a client, or just donate money or donate time. We are here and we accept all forms of payment. Don't leave your loved one at home during the day while you're at work, especially if they're suffering from Alzheimer's disease or any other related dementia. Utilize a center like the Alzheimer's Services Center, because we're here Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
All right, and thank you from our sponsor, Alzheimer's Services Center. Ms. Sylvia Dennis Ray is on the line. Do you have a few words?
Good morning, everyone. I just want to welcome you to our How to Do Business with Clayton County, and I'm looking forward to hearing everything about the Clayton County community from our Clayton County who are on the line, and thank you to everyone who participated.
All right, thank you. So again, I am founder and president of Southern Crescent Women in Business. We are a conglomerate of women-owned businesses and women in business in the Southern Crescent. So our goal was to create a foundational support for women-owned businesses in what we have identified as the Southern Crescent. We have 4 active chapters, and that includes Henry County Women in Business, Fayette County Women in Business, Clayton Women in Business, and DeKalb Women in Business. You can find out more about our program and what we offer, including our Women's Center, at www.scwibga.org. And again, we partnered with Commissioner DeMont Davis to bring this amazing program to you guys today. And Commissioner Davis is serving his first term, as member of the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, representing the citizens of District 4. Mr. Davis is a local business owner of a technology enterprise consulting firm, which focuses on delivering academic solutions, as well as strategic development and technical training. He has over 30 years of software development and business consulting experience. His passion is advancing our youth through education. He understands the needs for our young people to have access to state-of-the-art and great impacts and benefits can lead to academia, to the future of the students. DeMont is a man who loves his family. He's married to Dr. Laura Davis, a graduate of Oakwood University and Howard University, and has 4 wonderful children. He's a product of the Pasadena, California school system, and he holds a Bachelor of Science degree in computer science from Prairie View A&M and a Master of Science degree in computer science from Clark Atlanta. Mr. and Commissioner DeMont Davis.
Thank you. Then those computer science degrees would have done me no help in helping you with that sheriff issue just now. So I'm glad we got that resolved. But first of all, let me say thank you to the Southern Crescent Women in Business for putting this on. This is something that is dearly needed here in Clayton County. And I definitely want folks to begin to do business and to learn how to do business in Clayton County. But I'm not the one that you really want to talk to when you're doing the business. We have those people on the line here as well to begin to teach you about what's going to happen. Our first is our COO of Clayton County, Dietrich Stanford. The next one is our Director of Development, Patrick Njike. And the other one is the one that handles all contracts and procurement, Ms. Carol Rogers. So I thank them for coming online. These are the folks that you must begin to engage with when doing business in Clayton County. And hopefully this will begin to set it up right. You all have planted a seed and you are trying to grow a tree here. And I want to see trees come to fruition. The big thing for me is what Walt Disney said when you begin to start your business. The way to get started is to quit talking and start working. And that's what we want to do. And I want you all to enjoy. I want you, when this is over, to take something back, because I know as small business owners, time is very valuable here, and we want to begin to utilize it wisely. So thank you for engaging, and thank you for having me in here to begin to discuss these important issues to not only me, but for our county as well.
All right, awesome. Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and allow our COO to get started, Mr. Dietrich Stanford. So if you can introduce yourself and go ahead and share your screen.
First of all, good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Great. It's an honor to be part of this panel to kind of give you a sense of who we are as a county. And I want to kind of give you a snapshot of what that is. I won't steal Patrick's and Carol's thunder as they kind of give you a better, deeper dive about their respective departments. So let me share my screen. Okay, can y'all see that? Great. So the collective leadership have asked me to kind of provide you a sense of forecasting the vision and the direction Clayton County is heading in. And so I'm kind of give you a quick overview of some of the who we are perspectives, as well as give you a sense of how we go about handling the business on a day-to-day basis for Clayton County. So the first thing I want to share with you is to kind of give you a historical context of who we are. Not to give you a history lesson, Clayton County was formulated back in 1858. Recognizing that when Clayton County was first formulated, it was really an agricultural community, predominantly rural and predominantly Caucasian. Now moving to 2022, we talk about an urban community pushing anywhere close to almost 300,000 residents in the community, and it's predominantly African American. Why do I bring that to the forefront? When we talk about conducting business in a community that over 160 plus years ago had a different formula and had a different way about handling the business, this gives you a better perspective about the growth pattern of the county. And when you talk about conducting business in an urban community, there are certain nuances that we have to change in order to be, I guess, more efficient about our service delivery to our citizens. So Clayton County, from a density standpoint, is very unique. Being the sixth most populous county in the state of Georgia, but being the third smallest, we have a very unique proposition. And I say this all the time, it's almost analogous to when you talk about Cobb County, or you talk about Gwinnett, or you talk about some of the other counties, what they have the land mass to do what we consider vertical build out as well as depth build out. Clayton County didn't have that as an opportunity. We have to be very strategic about how we go about with our land use and figure out ways for which we can build out our community in a way that, one, gives us a better forecast of where the community would be 5, 10, 15 years down the road, but more importantly, give us a better sense of community while you're doing that. So we've kind of had this metamorphosis and this phase and change through our leadership with our board of commissioners to make that work. You also see on this screen, we talk about the growth rate of the community. Looking at the last census tract, Clayton County has a growth rate of about 1.04%. That equates to roughly almost 10 to 12,000 annually. Recognizing that if we don't have our business community and have those nodes in our community that strategically provide the build out we need, then you won't have the infrastructure things in place to be able to support where the county needs to go. So we're trying to be more mindful of that as we move forward. Another, I think, is an important component from a historical context. Clayton County, from a employment standpoint, we employ about 2,600 employees. As the chief operating officer, my role is primarily to work with those 17, 18 department heads to ensure that we carry forth the operational tenet of our board of commissioners that is comprised of five board of commissioners. If you can think of the structure of a business or an organization that has a CEO, the CEO of the county would be the chairman of the county, Chairman Turner. And then our other commissioners serve as board of directors. They kind of set the framework for the fiduciary responsibility as well as the policy lens for the county on a day-to-day basis. You hear people throw out terms, a weak chair form of government versus a strong chair form of government. Clayton County serves under what we call a strong chair form of government, simply meaning that the chairman runs ultimately the day-to-day operations and serves as the primary point of contact from an elected official standpoint to ensure that those elements in the community are ran in a very systematic way. And so in my space, my two peers will be the CFO, Ramona Bivens, and then the chief attorney for our county, Charles Reed. So we work in tandem to ensure that we carry forth those respective visions that the policymakers are pushing for. So one of the things we have to ensure that we move forward around is what is the mission of the county? And as it states here, Clayton County is a community-focused government committed to maintaining a positive and effective atmosphere while providing access to resources that are beneficial to the economic growth and prosperity of our citizens, businesses, and employees. What does that say? All it says is that we are central to ensuring that there's continuity in how we go about handling the business of Clayton County. And I think the most important part of our mission is talking about being community-focused government, meaning that it's important that we have our ear to the ground about where we're headed as a county, and ultimately taking that feedback to develop our strategic direction for our community. So let's talk about that a little bit, about our strategic direction. So the county's framework, as you see, kind of this puzzle, as I call it, we have something that we call pillars. The pillars are kind of the foundational elements that kind of derive out of our operational plan for, we look at it over a 3-year period of time, but we operationalize that annually as we go through our county's budget. So the 5 or the 6 primary areas that we're looking at now, the Board of Commissioners recently went through a board retreat about 2 weeks ago. And so we've now fine-tuning this framework, but it really emanates from 6 areas: fiscal responsibility, quality of life, communication and image, growth management, economic opportunities, and governance. I won't bore you by reading the objectives associated with those 6 pillars, but when we talk about setting the framework from the policy lens that the board set forth and how we operationalize that vision, it's important that we have a framework in place that gives, that whole adage, if it doesn't get measured, it doesn't get done. If you kind of take that premise about the work, then it was important that we utilize this framework to determine what are the operational priorities for the Board of Commissioners. So when we drill down into those elements, there are a couple of areas that we thought from a functional role. So if you think about policy lens, you think about strategic planning, there has to be how do you operationalize that? The 2 areas of concern today will be, what are the 3 gateways to get into the community as it pertains to business? And I call it the 3-legged stool approach. So Ms. Rogers will talk about her role in central services. And again, in layman's term, the whole goal around central services is the business intersection for contracts to procure products and services for government operations. That's simply what it is. Her goal and her staff's primary role is to ensure that we can onboard businesses in a way to ensure that we can provide the services as well as products that might be needed to continue to operate Clayton County on a day-to-day basis. We talk about our fiscal and our budget for Clayton County. Our general operational budget for this last fiscal year is about $220 million. When we add the special funds to that, that number swells up to almost $500 million. So when you talk about looking at resources and opportunities to expand and expound upon money within the community, we have to figure out ways for which we can expand that and get the money out in the community so we can meet those respective strategic tenets that I talked about earlier. We talked about our strategic plan. Community development with Director Ajike, his primary role, and he wears a multitude of hats, but business processes for permitting, and he becomes the custodian for appropriate land use and monitoring. So if you can imagine, if we're trying to bring certain businesses into the community, his primary role is to be the custodian and try to figure out, okay, are we having appropriate land use within space or appropriate zoning? And he goes through a series of vetting, either through our ZAG committee or through statutorily what the law allows us to do. And he serves as the gatekeeper in that space. But more importantly, whenever you're looking at onboarding in our county from business perspective, he would probably be the primary conduit when you're looking at getting permits or licensings that are needed. Community development serves as the gatekeeper there. Patrick will also probably talk on behalf of his counterpart, Erica Rocker, who's our economic development officer. But Erica's primary role is to facilitate a business or development interests. And more importantly, she's a marketeer. She serves as a concierge to lead for resource identification throughout the county. So again, when it comes to businesses coming to our community, Erica serves as kind of the gatekeeper to ensure that there is kind of a marriage between what are some opportunities in the community, what can we build out, and then we try to work with the development in that space to make us a more well-rounded organization. So I want to kind of give you kind of context to the three-legged stool approach as to when you're talking about kind of the three primary conduits when it comes to onboarding business within the community. It certainly will start, in some instances, stop with central services, community development, and our Office of Economic Development. So like any organization, there's in our organization right now, we're going through a culture shift. Because as I alluded to earlier about the build out of the county, looking at it from 1858, primarily an agricultural community, to now looking at 2022 being a predominantly urban community, you have to have some center principle opportunities to get a sense of where we are. So I kind of wanted to share with you when we talk about procurement or our business sector, here are some of the principles associated with those respective areas. When Director Rogers is moving out on trying to figure out, day to day, how do we make Clayton County a better place to live, work, and play? Here are some of the tenets. Competition, clearly. We try to ensure that we have a process for which it provides equal opportunities for competition within the space. We try to ensure that when we're developing scopes of work that is reflective of the respective service or product that we're trying to bring to the table. And then, of course, we try to be impartial in that space. We try to ensure that there is transparency about the work and that those individuals who are the subject matter experts in vetting the services that you provide, that we have somebody around the table that can evaluate where we are. We try to have a sense of openness. Simply put, the information that you see on the website when it comes to bids and the RFP process or whatever it might be, we try to provide you all the tenets associated with what we're going through to vet that process. So you know specifically from the start of the process to finishing of the process, what are all the moving parts in between. One of the main tenets of Director Rogers' work is effective use of public funds, right? Understanding that we're utilizing taxpayers' dollars in most instances, or we're the keeper of a lot of funding, whether it's state or federal dollars. It's important that we utilize those funds in a way that's reflective of the need of the collective community. So being a good steward of public funds is important. Innovation and flexibility really talks about the fact that Patrick and Carol can speak to you about our use of technology here in the last 4 to 5 years. We've used technology in a more innovative way than we've ever used in the past. A lot of our process was really paper-driven. It was very arduous. It took us a lot of time to really process what we needed. So we try to have more of a public-facing opportunity so that our public can see our processes. You can interface with it. It's not always predicated upon 9 to 5. Sometimes you can go and look at our systems 24/7 and based upon your convenience. So innovation and flexibility is really important in our workspace as we move forward about procurement, and primarily as it pertains to our central services department. The principles around our business support, and in this particular case, I'm talking business support, would be community development and economic development. The principles again is about participation. You'll see a series of either workshops, even through the leadership on this call today, to kind of give you a better sense of the behind the curtain work that we do on a day-to-day basis. We try to ensure that we get feedback from you about how we can do business better. We do an empowerment. Empowerment is really simply saying that we don't have all the answers. And so you have some ways of providing better ways of doing business or more efficient ways of doing business. So we try to empower the collective community to help us with that, to give us a better sense of direction. Ownership, Commissioner Davis kind of talked about that on the front end, as he kind of gave you the Walt Disney quote about action. Ownership starts with action. It calls for us to step up to the plate, have a sense of what are the needs in the community, and then ultimately figure out a way to fix it. Sustainability, not just from an environmental standpoint, but sustainability from a business acumen standpoint, is something that Patrick and Erica push forth in their respective areas to ensure that we can figure out ways to not just fix the problem today, but make sure we put the fix in place that will fix the problem for 5, 10, 15 years down the road. The learning is what we're doing today, right? We're trying to figure out how do we take this collective community, hear from one another, and then take that information to make us better as a community. And again, going back to innovation, the same with central services, economic development and the community development, always try to figure out ways to be innovative in their respective space. So one of the things I kind of want to give you a snapshot on is our stakeholders. And clearly this is not an exhaustive list of all of our stakeholders in the community, but this gives you a sense that there's several entry points into doing business in the community. Clearly on this call today, we're talking about Clayton County government and those entry points into our service. But recognize there are a multitude of partners in space, whether you talk about our cities, whether you talk about our non-governmental organizations, or you talk about even some of the nonprofits. There are some other opportunities in which we partner with a lot of our community members to ensure that we take this umbrella and ensure that we're taking the work for the betterment of the community. So therefore, there's other entry points into our community other than just Clayton County government. So again, this is kind of just giving you a snapshot. We have a great working relationship with our school system. We have a great working relationship with our university. And of course, we have our great 7 cities within the community. We try to figure out ways that we look at economies of scale to maximize our buying power as well as our collective power as a community, because we know working in a unified approach to our work is much better than working in our respective silos. So what I will leave you with is a couple things. As I drill down into, we talk about that strategic plan, here's kind of giving you a snapshot on some of the policy implications that are associated with some of our stakeholders. And I'll just use 2 for an example. So if you think about workforce development and business incentives as we work with our development authority, one of the things we're trying to do is try to figure out how do we develop tax incentives that are aligned with certain development. So example, if we're doing build out on Elmer Block Road, or we're doing some build out on the Mount Zion corridor, then we have to figure out how do we specify the need in that respective area, and then we incentivize the development on the front end opposed to incentivizing on the back end. So here's the paradigm shift. If you can imagine that from a zoning standpoint, a lot of the times the developer is the driver of what happens in the community. And sometimes what the developer wants to do does not marry with the look and the feel of what we want the community to be. So we take that inverse and do it the other way. If we now develop site plans for certain nodes within our community, and then we incentivize the developer to come in to build what we want, then we can now expedite our process and make it more fluid. So therefore, we're getting what we need on the front end, opposed to reacting to it on the back end. So this is part of the work of the board, and I'm trying to tie in the first slide where I talked about the board's work and where they go from a policy perspective and how we drill down into operating that within the respective departments. The other would be Southern Regional, and again, the tenet or the pillar there is improve community health and services. So one of the things the board is contemplating is that do we develop a dedicated millage or long-term tax-based incentive for the hospital, so therefore we can now attract better medical services within our community or technology services in a way that again makes them more viable, So people are coming in the front door of the hospital opposed to the emergency room. And therefore we have a better return for those individuals as it pertains to our tax base within Clayton County. So I kind of want to give you a sense of just a snapshot of what we do when we work with our stakeholders and work with our respective departments to give a better sense of direction. So the last thing I share with you would be, how does this impact you and how does this impact the future of the future state of Clayton County? And the question I always ask our leadership, and I ask department heads all the time, how are we fixing community problems? Our primary goal as leaders is about how are we ensuring that those within the community that are either in a dire strait or a dire need for community help, what are we doing to ensure that those problems are being resolved? And so when I talk about the future state of the community, if you see yourself in any of these 5 bullet points, you certainly should probably find your way or figure out ways for which you can help us solve some of our issues. The first one is population and migration. I talked about the growth rate of the county and where we may be in the next 5, 10 years. If you can figure out ways that we can have what we call healthy growth and understand that infrastructure build out is going to be important, then ultimately your service, your business will be able to help us in that space. Secondly, health, wealth, health, and aging. I kind of put those 3 together. When we talk about wealth, I'm not talking about being rich. I'm talking about how do we ensure that people can have livable wages and that they can continue to sustain themselves in light of that. And then ultimately, how can we ensure that they live, work, and play in the community? So therefore, our household median income goes up from the 47,000 where it is now, and we can continue to have this, what we consider discretionary income in our community that can continue to grow our community in a way that we all feel comfortable with. Community health is at the forefront of all we do now when we talk about the pandemic. Knowing that we do serve predominantly the African-American community, we know in some instances there has been disparate health treatment in some of the areas. How do we ensure that we continue to become a healthy community in said space? And the county has looked at that in a different way than we ever looked at that in the last 10 to 15 years. And then aging speaks for itself. You know, how do we continue to age in place and how do we develop this sense of community so our aging community know that there's still services and there's opportunities for growth. Housing and affordability and density, I talked about that quite a bit. And when we talk about affordability, it's not about starter homes only, it's about diverse housing. How do we have different tiers of housing within our community? So therefore, those that may be on the upper income threshold and those that might just be starting out, there's a diversified housing stock in place to help us with that. Clayton County is at the forefront of transportation, congestion, and mobility. You hear us talk about it ad nauseum. I work with MARTA. We talk about the build out on 1941 and Terra Boulevard and the congestion that stands right in the middle of our community. We're trying to figure out ways of how do we transverse this community in a different way and figure out other mediums for which we can communicate or commute throughout our respective community. And lastly, community facilities and technology. Commissioner Davis spoke on the front end about technology and the different means that it will have where we talk about broadband infrastructure. How do we ensure that every household in the community have access to certain technology nodes that traditionally they might not have had? And then how do we take our community facilities? And when I say that, I'm not just talking about the building, I'm also talking about how do you connect to those facilities, whether it's through trails, whether it's through destination spots with the coffee shop, whatever those community facilities might be, how do we continue to build what we consider a sense of community for the betterment of the collective? So with that, I'll pause there. I tried to make sure I did not take up my entire 20 minutes. So I think I stayed within that time frame. But to that end, I would certainly welcome any questions that you may have with regard to what I provided to you. And again, it's a pleasure being with you this morning.
All right, awesome. Thank you. I do have one question. Do we have a general idea of the industries breakdown in the community or in the county?
Yes, we do, Aria. I think 2 things that I would ask that you all get an opportunity to go to our Invest Clayton website. Under economic development, they provide these respective nodes. So if you're talking about logistics and manufacturing, whether you're talking about the service industry, whether you're talking about logistics, we've now gotten to a point through the study that we did, our CREST study that was facilitated through Clayton State, It provides the primary nodes within our community that seems to be in line with areas we need to continue to have our workforce development build out around. And so what we're trying to do is partner our resources, whether it's with Ms. Rogers, with the Development Authority, whether it's with Erica on the Office of Economic Development. How do we now upskill those individuals in said space to make them more employable within those areas that we seem to be lacking in getting people in those respective areas that you just referenced or asked about. But the Invest Clayton website can give you more details with regard to those respective areas and areas that we're trying to grow out over the next 5 to 10 years.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Dietrich. Do we have any questions? If not, we can circle back around towards the end. All right, awesome. All right, and Mr. Patrick, are you up next?
Yes.
All right.
Let me share, if you give me permission to share my screen.
Yep, Dietrich, you'll have to stop sharing yours.
There we go.
All right, awesome.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. And my name is Patrick Ejike, Director for Community Development Department. We do a lot of things in Community Development Department, but I'm going to focus on business license, and it might touch upon other services that we have. So this morning, you heard the high level of the vision, mission of the county from the COO and Commissioner Davis. Now we've gotten to the level where it's the nuts and bolts, where you have to get something tangible from it. In terms of business license, by the time you get to us, the assumption is that you've done the structural work to set up your business, like registering with the State Secretary of State, deciding what type of business you're going to form. Are you going to be a sole proprietor? Are you going to be an LLC? What kind of incorporation are you doing? All those things are part of the question that we're going to ask you when you come to us so that we can register you properly. So those are some of the important steps to know when you want to start a business or engage with the county. Before I get into it, you can apply, the Chief Operating Officer talked about the leaps and bounds we've made in technology. And I use those words not lightly because it has been leaps and bounds over the years to get to the technology we have. You can apply now in person in our offices or go online and apply for your business license. So I wanted to share that with you. But when you start in a business, one of the things that comes to mind is you want to familiarize yourself with the business license application. Look up the application, go through it, and ask questions. These things save you time. If you just call us up and we will answer those questions, go through the package with you and explain what's in it. Make sure you familiarize yourself with the application. It has different parts of it that you're going to see in this presentation. The next key question in doing a business, the most important one, I understand how exhilarating, interesting it is to finally get to the point that you want to be a business owner. I mean, most of us have been there, but you want to do it carefully so you don't lose money and you don't waste time. When you find this great location that you want to be in, the next question is, can you actually do that business at that location? There is this a joke we made this morning about zoning. Zoning guides what we do in the county, just about everything we do. One of the police power that the commissioners have is zoning. They can zone land. So you need to find out, can I do this business in this location? Does the zoning allow it? You can call us. Another extension of that discussion that you need to have, or something you need to find out. When you're about to sign a lease for a space that you see that you don't want to lose, please don't sign that lease. Try to sign, if you can, a contingency lease, pending when you find out if you can use it. I have folks come to me trying to see what I can do, but most cases, the zoning code ties my hand. So when they sign a contingency lease, it's telling the owner that you want to go find out if you can do your business in that space. When you come to us, either verbally or some folks do is what is called a zoning verification letter for us to tell you in a written format that the space that you have is conducive for the business you want to do. Then at that point now, you know that financially you will not be losing your money if you go ahead and finalize that lease. So please, that is key. Can the business actually operate at that location? That you see 2 or 4 doors down the line, the same business, does not mean yours coming in can be allowed, because the zoning might have changed when that business came in. So please, that's important. 3 of the support documents required to be notarized in your package, as you going through the package and looking at what you needed to do, is the property owner authorization. This is if you're doing a home business. Our home business application have increased over the years, but our ordinance limits what you can do from home. There are businesses you cannot do from home. The next document that is very important is the private employer affidavit. That is a state requirement, even federal, that you as a business owner can do business in Clayton County and in the United States. The third, and all these documents must be notarized. The last one, not the least, what we call SAVE. It really stands for Systematic Alien Verification for Entitlement Affidavit. It says that the folks that you're going to hire, can they work in the United States and can they work in Clayton County? And also the private employer affidavit has what we call the E-Verify number. We report this number every year to the Department of Community Affairs at the state level. If you hire more than 10 people, you will have what is called an E-Verify number. If it's less than 10, then you don't have to, but we have to report that. So there's a lot of things we do that's tied directly to what the state. The truth be known, the business license ordinance regulations really is controlled by state law. This is samples of what you will see in the package. As you can see, it has been simplified to only 1 page, and they are all fillable online. One of the, even Commissioner Davis would like it to be half a page. One of the things that he pushed when he came into office, he will say, Patrick, how can we make it simpler? I say, well, we've made it as simple as we can make it. The COO have been pushing for simplifying process in the county. And that is the benefit of technology. So it's a 1-page information that or request to apply that you can see. You're going to see this. This is also why I'm showing you this, I didn't see the COO's presentation, but his presentation talks about what the county is doing, our efforts in streamlining things, our effort in clarity, our effort is making sure that the expectation is set on the county side, so that as a business owner, once you know the rules, you can play. The problem becomes when the rules keep changing, and that's what we're trying to cut out. So when you go and look at this, we call matrix, a document requirement. Depending on the business that you're doing, wherever the X is the kind of document that will be considered a support document for your business. This takes away, they told me to bring this on Monday, and on Friday, it became 16th. If you bring what is here, whether we like it or not, we own it. And that's how it works, because we prescribed it. This is an example of the property owner authorization form that you have to give. And this is if you are in a residential area, not commercial. Because if you're in a residential area and you do not own the house, you're leasing the house, the property owner must know that what you're doing on their property. If you're in an apartment and it's a type of use that could be approved in an apartment, the complex must know what you're doing, and we want them to know. That's why this form is here. This is the private employer affidavit. You can see in the middle under subsection 1, where it talks about 10 or less employees. One of if you have 10 or more, you go through this website, you apply. It's very easy. In less than 24 hours, they will give you an e-verify number. That number is also tracks into how the state tracks its employment numbers. So you can see how in the simple things that we do, how it ties into Department of Community Affairs to track numbers for statistics, for how state funds are actually given out to counties and things like that. So this is the form that you have to fill to do that. This is the safe affidavit. Number 1 speaks for itself. Are you a citizen of the United States? Do you have permanently? They just want to know, they want to make sure that you're supposed to be here. Let me kind of phrase it that way. You're supposed to be here. Then zoning. If you're doing a home occupation, business that you're doing home, and we recognize that businesses at home have increased. Even prior to COVID, most people who decide to work on their own, do businesses that you can do from home. They set up home offices. Advent of COVID, it has increased, doubled, where folks are now beginning. You all hear about people quitting their jobs, going to work for themselves. So, but this is the type of the declaration that we want from folks who are doing business at home, and some of the restrictions are in here. So this is part of what we do in terms of processing business license in the county. And if you have an issue when you engage us in obtaining a business license, feel free to call me. When you call, just ask for Patrick, a GK, or the director. My number is 24/7. Our mission is to deliver services. We actually have a service delivery agreement with our customers. When you apply for a business license, once you have all the support documents, the license must be issued within 10 working days. And if we do not meet that service agreement, please feel free to call me. We have what is called our key performance indicator that we run every month to see if we are meeting what we said we're going to do. And definitely by calling me helps me to make sure that license is issued. Having said that, now there are folks who come half prepared and want us to approve stuff. And we're not going to do that. So we work with them to get the right documents submitted. So that's all I have in terms of, it's really high level, but in terms of that, but let me, I know I still have a little bit of time, but in terms of what we do in business, we collaborate with the Office of Economic Development a lot. And this is why. When they're attracting or retaining businesses in their attraction and retention business, my department get involved. Because when they're attracting a company into the county, we set the expectation for the county as to how they're coming. The county wants to know, if I come to your county, how long will it take me to set up? How long will it take me to build something? So I'm in the room most of the time when they are talking to companies to come to the county. And what I'm doing in the room is doing what you hear our 6 pillars in the county do, where we're talking about the 6 pillars that the COO explained. Everything we do ties into that. That is how we tie it together. So while I'm in the room for economic development, I'm sharing what I've shared with you, process. We're suggesting different ways of doing this. We're also talking back to the COO and the district commissioner. Hey, we heard this direction, what we want to go. We encourage businesses to talk to these individuals, because when things are coming, there are things that might even make us think about changing our code. The COO said something interesting. If you have an idea that will improve government, tell us. What does it mean? It means that we're going to move to change some of the laws that we have to make sure that those things happen. The government is for everybody. And so that is how my department ties with economic development. We do a lot of things together. So thank you for listening. I hope I didn't bore anybody, but and thank you.
All right, thank you, Patrick. A couple questions. Do you guys have a list or moratoriums on certain businesses within the county? And that's the first part. And the second part is, so we're talking about getting a business license with the county, but if you are zoned for one of the cities, you're going to have to go through the cities, correct? Can you clarify that?
Yes, let me pick the second one first. If your business is within the city limits, you have to get the business license from the city and not the county. On the first question, we do not have any moratoriums on business. Usually the moratorium go in what we do in my department, moratorium go on the zoning side, but we don't have any at this time.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, are there any other questions? I know we got a question about being able to apply online. So we can make sure we get that link out for how to apply for that business license process online. Or
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
All right, awesome. Thank you. All right, Ms. Rogers.
Good morning, and let me get my screen. I think we've all viewed it a few times, but we'll go ahead and bring it up now. Give me one moment. There we go. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good morning again. Once again, my name is Carol Rogers, and I'm the director here at Central Services. I wanted to start with an overview to talk, more general about Central Services, but to the point of the COO and Commissioner Davis, I wanted to get a deeper dive into what we do. We want to be the place where you enter your business into Clayton County, so that we can take that and we can source that out to different departments. What we do is we solicit all the products. So we're not the subject matter experts, but we are the facilitator and the coordinator. So it's important that we're reaching out to you and that you're reaching out to us to enter the county. So on my next slide, I want to talk a little bit now about some of the things I want to discuss, and some of them it'll be a little deeper dive. Some things I'll just kind of give you some background information on, certainly talking about our function, purchasing. I know everyone is interested in that process. Vendor registration. I also want to talk about some of our business certifications we have available for the business community, as well as a little bit about our bids and RFPs. Okay, so what do we do at Central Services? I know that sometimes that question is, you know, a little bit of everything. I know sometimes when we get phone calls, we get calls for anything that does, you know, anything about Clayton County. But what we do is we do centralized procurement. We do it to the highest standard. We do work under the purchasing code, which is approved and governed by the Board of Commissioners. We are always making sure that we're professional with you. So any concerns, or if you need to reach out to me, I'm certainly available. We are committed, as the COO spoke about earlier, to obtaining quality goods and services for the citizens, for our user department, who actually performs services on behalf of the citizens. Within Central Services, there's 5 divisions, the purchasing, contracts. We actually handle risk management as well. So if you're actually working on a project, you know, any services you're performing to the county, normally will require some type of insurance to mitigate the risk of that project with the county. So we actually have that division. The division that I'm going to focus on today is going to be contract compliance, but we also have the warehouse. It's a central warehouse that actually give goods out to different departments within the county. So what do we purchase? Here's a list of some of the items. As you can see, it's very varied. You'll look at the commodities, office supplies and furnitures. Obviously, we do that for all departments. We actually do party events and supplies. When you think about your senior centers, your parks and recreation divisions as well. We do landscaping equipment, obviously for the parks and recreation. We have banners and flyers. We also do uniforms. We do athletic equipment, parks and recreation. We have the football, baseball. We provide all that for our recreation department. We also have window treatments. And we purchase vehicles. These are some of the commodities. In regards to the services, we do catering services for different events for the county. We also do fencing installation for our senior departments and some of our youth commissioner, or some of our parks and recreation events. We have to procure DJs and entertainment systems. The major things are the construction services and the A&E services for the design of those buildings. So those are just a few of the things, but the way that the code is within Clayton County, all purchases will come through Central Services. There's a few exemptions, but everything that's purchased by most of the user departments, whether it's a pencil pen or in some cases construction or A&E services, all of that is solicited through Central Services. So we are centralized in that regard. And so the question is, how do you get into this system, into this process? We do have a vendor registration system. As the CEO spoke about earlier, part of our innovativeness here at the county was technology. Before, we had a vendor registration system, but really consisted of paper. You filled out 8 sheets of paper, you brought that back to us. We had to enter that into an antiquated system. Hopefully everything was done and we could get things out to you. Now we are totally technology. You as a vendor community are able to put your information into the CVAP system. That allows you to enter everything in regards to your name, the type of service that you can offer to the county. So I'm going to go down to the next screen here. And what I want to do is kind of tell you some of the information you'll need to have available when you're actually doing that. So who needs to register? Once again, this is anyone who's interested in working with the county. By registering, what you're going to do is gain information on upcoming bids. You also will be able to check any of your statuses if you are currently under a contract, or if you're working with the county in another avenue, you will be able to check your account to see where your invoices are located, to see if you receive payment. It's a great system. It really gives you up-to-date and real-time information. So where do you go to register? You go to our website here at Clayton County, and then you go to doing business, and you can also click on our vendor. You go from there, you click on our vendor access portal. And I know this is a lot of information, so the PowerPoint will be available. If you want it afterwards, just reach out to me to make sure you can get that information. So registering as a vendor, what are some of the things that you will need? Patrick talked a little bit about the things that are needed when you go down to community development. When you are registering as a vendor, you do need your W-9 form. We do look at to make sure that you have the current form. So make sure you're using the one from 2018. You need to have your general business information. You also need to have your commodity code. So I want to talk a little bit about that. So the commodity code is issued through the National Institute of Government Purchasing. This is across the board for all government entities within the United States. That code actually tells the county, the entity, what type of service or goods that you can offer to the county. What I always recommend is if you're doing services, make sure that you list everything that you can do within that. So be very specific, but also very general. That opens you up to receiving information on a lot of projects. So you're not just being, specific to one thing. We do have that code available on our website. But once again, we're here to assist you. So if you have any issues while you're doing that registration, we have dedicated staff that can certainly assist you with that. That's not a problem. This is also available on the state's website, which is the Department of Administrative Services. That's another great resource for you as a business owner. That the Department of Administrative Services for the state of Georgia, all counties have to actually put their bids on that website. So that's a great one-term key where you can go and you can not only get bids for Clayton County, but for any county within the state of Georgia. It is a mandate that we all have to do for any item that's over $100,000. So it's a great resource for you to use. If you want to do a one-stop shop and look at all the counties in the state, you can go to that website. As far as your vendor registration, you can have your bank information available to start the EFT process. There is some additional things we have to do to get you set up for that. And the EFT just means electronic fund transfer. So if you do not want to receive a paper check from the county, you certainly have that option. Once again, our team will walk you through that, but basically you'll check that box and you'll go to the next step from there. Okay, so we've kind of talked a little bit about this, the forms you will need. What I did want to focus on a little bit is the W-9 and your name in the DBA and your tax ID. You must have your tax ID, or if you're running and you have a social security number, no problem. But if you're doing your tax ID, all that information has to match. If not, the vendor system will not allow you to move forward. There is a stop that's placed on your record. Now, we will contact you, obviously, to assist you with that, but just be aware that sometimes I know that that's the process that a lot of vendors sometimes we have to work with to get past that. But once again, we're here to assist as necessary. But please make sure that that information does match. Okay, so we've kind of talked a little bit about this, but what are the benefits? Once again, you're going to get that 24-hour access to your account. Before, if you had an issue or you were trying to verify if you had received payment, or even if we had received your invoice, that required a phone call to our finance department. And obviously we work business hours, so you were not available to do that on the weekend or after hours. With the system that we have now, which is our ERP system, which is a enterprise resource program system, you're able to access your information at any time. You can view your invoices, you can check your status. It also has a searchable database as well. And then the most important part, if you're looking for opportunities, is that you will receive information based on that code that we just spoke about that will tell us what type of services and commodities you may offer to the county. So now I want to speak a little bit about, I know the question is a little bit about the diversity, any type of programs we have. And I'm happy to announce, pleased to say that even back in 2012, the Board of Commissioners for Clayton County was dedicated to diversity inside of the procurement process, as well as contracting for the county. So back in 2012, the county established what we call the Clayton County Small Local Business and Procurement Non-Discrimination Program. That was established, and some of the reasons, as you can see, they're listed on the screen, but I'll just go over a few. To promote full and equal business opportunities. So we're strictly just making sure that we're prohibiting any discrimination against any business. So we want to promote and encourage full and open competition. This is in all procurement and purchasing. And the main objective is to grow and to create growth in the county business community. So I'm going to speak a little bit more about that program, because once again, it's something that we actually established back in 2012, and it actually started back in 2013 is when it was first implemented. So now we're going to talk about the business certification. So what came out of that process? So out of the non-discrimination program, there was two main vendor programs that actually came out of that. The first one is what we call the small local business enterprise program. And the second one is the Minority Women Business Enterprise Program. Both of those programs are important to us. The first one is certified based on where you're located, which is a small local business program. That's basically certifying you if you're located in Clayton County and the 5 surrounding counties. That's DeKalb, Henry, Fulton, as well as Fayette and Spalding County. The next one is the minority.
Sorry, Carol, can you say those counties one more time?
Yes. Okay. The first one obviously is Clayton County, and then it's Henry County, Spalding County, Fayette County, DeKalb, and Fulton. Okay. Next, we have the Minority Women Business Enterprise Program. And that program certifies vendors who are located in the 28 metropolitan counties. So that is a little different. So that's going to be the 28 counties, including Clayton. We also have the local vendor program, and that is only for Clayton County vendors. And that is specific to if there's a particular bid that's out there and there's a tie bid, then we do give preference to the local vendor. And that's only, once again, for Clayton County vendors, not the surrounding counties. So as we talked a little bit about that, I want to give you some of the eligibility requirements. And we do have business certification classes. So all of this is available in that format for you, where you can attend a workshop and ask additional questions. So the eligibility requirements for SLBE, and remember, this is a small local business enterprise program. So it is local based on where your business is located. It must be independently owned. We look at the standards of your business to determine based on either the number of employees that you have or the gross revenue of your business. Your gross revenue is based on the Small Business Administration Standard Chart. Also, you must be fully operated for 12 consecutive months. So your business license must be in effect for 12 months. And your personal net worth, which is separate, of course, from your revenue, cannot exceed $750,000. That does not include your personal home, nor does it include any interest or any stocks that you may have in your business. Now we'll talk a little bit about the MWBE certification. This one is a little different, as I spoke of a few moments ago. We look at certification for the 28 metro counties. The business must be 51% owned by either an African American, Native American, Hispanic, Asian, or women. And once again, this is our MWBE. Now, we do benchmark this program every year. So we work with a consultant who actually comes and they review our procurement over that year's time frame and then the previous 2 fiscal years. And we look at, the areas, we look at the utilization. We also look at locally census information of what's available based on the products and the services that the county uses. And then we come up with a number that we achieve to try to reach of how many minority women businesses we will procure services and goods through over the next year. So we're actually in the process of going through our benchmarking. We're actually working with the Board of Commissioners. We've taken that information to them. We're doing some advertising. And so next we're looking for public comments on the numbers. So if you're interested in that, please let me know and I can send you that report. And you can certainly provide feedback to us on that report. Once again, it's our MWBE benchmarking report, and it's something that we do annually.
Carol, do you mind sharing what it was last year?
Sure. So last year, if we're looking at our MWBEs for the different areas, it looks over construction and A&E services. Those are some of the main things. I think our numbers were around 10%. So that's out of the amount of construction that we purchased, and that's only for MWBEs. The county currently does not have what we call a goal-based program for MWBEs. So to give you an example, we talked about small local businesses. The small local business, there is a goal, that is a goal-based project, meaning that any construction that goes on through Clayton County that we issue an ITB for, that it goes out for procurement here at Central Services, we are asking that prime vendor to use 30% of vendors certified through our small local business enterprise program. So that means 30% of that work should go to an SLBE, and that's for construction. If we're looking at architect and engineering services, it's 20%. If you're looking at roadway projects, construction projects, that's 20% as well. If you're looking at IT projects, that's 20%. So when you compare that with the Minority Women Business Enterprise Program, we don't have any goals in that program. That is a process that we're working toward now.
And just as a follow-up, are you guys providing any matchmaking opportunities for your prime and subprimes for that small business?
Yes, we do. We have quite a few events. Actually, we will be sponsoring a SPLOS event for our SLBEs to network. That will probably be either in April or May of this year. And then we always have a networking event in the fall as well. We have 2 workshops per month. One is on certification and one is on how to do business with the county. We do quarterly workshops on how to complete an ITB, which is an invitation to bid in RFP. So we're constantly doing that. We also have what we call trade day, industry day workshops. So if we know we have a particular project that's going to come out, specifically construction, we will set aside one day for networking with our prime contractors and the sub, you don't necessarily have to serve as a sub. We certainly encourage all our businesses to actually, become primes as well. But that is a time that we set aside where the networking can make sure that happens with the prime, vendor, as well as the subcontractor. So yes, I will always encourage you to give us a call or check our website to make sure that you can receive all the updated information on any workshops that we have. Okay, so back to the certification. As I was speaking, we do certify, and these are the areas for MWBE, but we also understand the certification process is a lengthy process. We do recognize that. So part of what we do is we have reciprocal certification. There's other entities within the counties as well as within the state that actually certify. So based on that, if you go to either the Water Authority has a project very similar to ours. So we certify if you go through the waters, the CCWA, if you go through their certification process, you only need to bring that letter over to Clayton County to Central Services along with your just a few documents such as your business license and your picture ID, and then you will be reciprocal certified through us. Also with DeKalb County, they have the same type of certification program, the City of Atlanta, as well as GDOT. So any of those entities, if you've already went through that certification process, certainly contact us for reciprocal. That is good for 1 year. After that, you'll go through our process, but it certainly gets you into the process, into the program, especially if you're interested in working with the prime on an upcoming project. The same thing for your MWBE certification. It is reciprocal. So once again, if you're certified through various government entities, you just need to submit that documentation to us and we'll get you through that process pretty quickly. Okay, next, and I spoke a little bit about this, so I won't spend a lot of time. We have a local vendor preference program, and you have to be located within Clayton County. So this is directly for the county. You would just make sure that if you were submitting a bid with the county, that you notified us of that. But we do check the vendors as they submit their bids to verify if they are a part of that program or not. So this is a part of our outreach also. So as we do our vendor events, we certainly provide information on how you can register for that as well. So I'm pleased to announce, as our CEO has spoken, we are certainly in the technical age now. So all these applications and the whole process is available online. You don't need to download anything and complete it and send it back to us. You can submit everything online, including all your documentation. We do use a website here, and it is ProPrism. But once again, all this information will be available. I'll certainly get that out to you. You can email us at any time at our SLBE email address, and that is Central Services here at Clayton County. But everything is fully automated. So if you wanted to apply, you won't have to worry about all the paperwork. You still have to just submit it, but no longer need to bring the paperwork into our office. So next, I'm just going to spend a few moments, as we were talking about before. Well, let me go back here because I want to talk about an initiative that we're getting ready to move forward with. We are certainly invested in our business community here, and we look at ways not only to give you opportunities, but ways that we can assist, and how can we give you resources. One of the things that we have that we're getting ready to start enacting, we've been working with our COO with this for the last couple of months, is a mentor protege program. This is a program that we're working where we're dedicated to looking at cohorts, bringing them along, working with primes to give them resources and assistance on particular projects or just with their business as a whole. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you will be working on a project, but you will have access to a prime to get that on-the-job training, so to speak. This program will start, we will start in March. We've already went through the process of setting everything up. Part of what you have to do though, you have to be registered as a SLBE for now. So that is for the small local business enterprise. So I strongly encourage you to register, to go through that process. It is a great program. We're very excited about bringing it to the vendor community. I think it's something that has been needed for a while. So I'm very excited to see us implement this. Once again, we'll start this program. We're looking at March, but we're currently taking applications. So feel free to reach out to us, submit an application. We will review it. We work with, we've talked about our economic development. They're a part of this. We talk about even with our chamber, they would be a part of this as well. They would assist. We would talk about our development authority. All of those people play a part in the success of the business for the county, whether it's retention, bringing new businesses into the county, everyone plays a role. So we're certainly big on collaborating with the different entities within Clayton County for the success of all the businesses. And so now the bids and the RFPs. This one is a little bit just an overview of the process. We have some upcoming workshops. I'm certainly going to share those dates with you before I wrap this up. But we want to, I wanted to kind of give you an overview on the bids and RFPs. I know there's some questions sometime about the threshold levels and just the different procurement processes, how it works. So just to kind of give you a brief overview, Clayton County has two, when you talk about procurement, you're talking about formal and informal. So for the Clayton County Board of Commissioners, they have set the informal amount for a purchase is anything $74,999. That means that anything underneath that amount, we don't have to formally go out and put a bid out and do a solicitation open to the public. We only need to do 3 quotes for that. So that's $74,999. Anything over that dollar amount requires some type of formal process. And that's when you hear the word ITB. And in this case, it means invitation to bid. That is just a competitive sealed bid process. We know exactly what we want. We want those widgets. We need 20 of those widgets. And what we're asking from you is how much are you going to charge me for those widgets? We're not asking you to define what the widgets look like, the size, the shape. We're going to give you all that information. That is just the specs. So the primary reason for that is everything comes down to cost. So anything over $75,000 requires the Board of Commissioners approval. Anything under that dollar amount can be approved within Central Services.
So Carol, I just want to jump in. So that's really a good number to start at. What we traditionally see is 50,000.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Right. And the great thing about this is when I've been with the county for a while now, when I started, it was actually 25,000. So everything that was over 25,000, we had to do a formal process. So needless to say, there was a lot of bids and proposals. So now we have a little bit more wiggle room, which allows us to get services and commodities to our user departments a lot quicker. So that is for the invitation to bid. The other solicitation type is called RFP, and that is a request for proposal. So in this case, price is not the main consideration. Obviously, we're wanting to continue to be great stewards of the taxpayers' money, but sometimes we understand cost cannot be the defining reason why we enter a contract. In some cases, such as IT services, architect and engineering services, we have to look at other options, and we want to be able to evaluate. That is the RFP process. So once again, this is highly technical equipment. We have an evaluation committee that is made up of various county department members. We talked about the subject matter expert. We certainly have them at the table evaluating. So they're looking at that. The cost is not evaluated initially. So we're just looking to see, can your company responsibly provide those services into the county? And so we have an upcoming workshop. So I won't, go into that deeper, but we have an upcoming workshop actually on the 22nd of this month that's going to give you a deeper dive into that process. So how do you find out about this? So we're talking about all these great projects that we have and opportunities. How is this information? How can you find this out? There's various ways that we get this out to you. What we're pleased to announce again is that we do electronic bidding now. So we're using a system called BidNet. That is for all our commodities. You can register. Once again, it's always make sure that you have your commodity code. Based on your commodity code is how you will receive the bid. So if you have someone that does catering services, they're not going to receive a bid about construction. That is the great thing about this system. Our previous system, you had to receive everything or nothing. So some vendors chose to opt out. So hopefully now we're moving forward. We have a system now that can send it just to your specific commodity. We also email it out. We advertise in the Clayton News Daily. So make sure that you're, if you're still paper person, if you're not electronic as of yet, you can certainly get our bid information through Clayton News Daily. Here at Central Services, if you want to come in and drop by, we have a bid board that we list all our solicitations. Obviously, it's on the website. And once again, as I spoke, we're required to register all of our bids on the Georgia Procurement Registry. And that is for all government entities within the state of Georgia. So that is a great resource for you as a business owner, where you can see actually what's going on, not just in Clayton County, but throughout the entire state of Georgia. So I know that there was a question about the informal amount, about the 75,000. I know, we had talked a little bit about the 50,000. So I know that's a good question because that is the informal one. So once again, this is anything under 75,000. We have a dedicated department, which is our dedicated division, which is our purchasing division. They actually go through that process. And that is just our purchasing administrator. We're always available to meet with you as vendors. Twice a month, we have dedicated time on Tuesdays that we have vendor meetings. We will do Zoom meetings with you. So that way we can make sure that we can hear your product. We can find out about what you can offer to the county. And it's a dedicated time twice a month, Tuesdays. And that's just for vendors. You will meet with our purchasing staff and our leadership staff. And then we can answer and address any issues or, talk about your product in more depth. And this is just, once again, BidNet Direct. That is, this is a new system that we're moving to. So we're coming out of the paper bids and we're going to electronic bids. So at some point, and of course we will give communication out, we will no longer accept paper bids at Clayton County. Everything will be done electronically. And just one more thing, I wanted to give you some of the opportunities that are coming up in Clayton County for procurement. These are annual contracts, just means that we will use these contracts probably for about 3 years. So we have bridge maintenance, e-waste disposal services, tennis management services as well for our tennis facility out at International Park. Now, some of the upcoming opportunities, we have a county administration building that we're excited about. It's actually in design that will go out for construction, within the next year or so. We also have a fire station, 9 and 15, that will be out for design. We have a fueling station that will shortly be out for construction. One of our annual contracts is time for a rebid, meaning that we will reprocure the services. That is for catering services, sports photography, fencing services. Those are just a few of the things that we have in the pipeline within the next couple months. So if you or someone is interested that can provide those services to the county, certainly reach out to us here at Central Services to get that information. There's a few dates, if you all don't mind it, I want to leave with you. You may want to write these down. On the 22nd of this month, we will have a certification workshop. So if you're interested in the certification, certainly let me know and we can get you registered for that one. And then on the 24th of this month, we will have a very in-depth workshop on how to process an ITB, which is your bids and your proposals. So those are 2 dates that are important. They're coming up. You can register until the last day. That's not a problem. But if you're interested, certainly reach out to us. And then on 3/9 of March, that's March the 9th, we'll have a how to do business workshop with Clayton County. So those are just some of the things that we have going on in here at Clayton County Central Services. Certainly, if there's any questions, I'm available to answer those. I know it was a lot of information, but once again, it's available. I'll have the PowerPoint available for you if anyone wants a copy of it.
Okay, awesome. Quick question.
Yes.
Are these certification and how to do business and ITB process, are these virtual or are these in person?
They'll be virtual through Zoom.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right, we have a question about when is the networking event? Is that the 27th? And the second part to that is, do you all use our contract out COVID and drug testing businesses as well?
Sure. So for the networking event, that will be announced probably within the next month. That's going to be probably in April, the end of April. The upcoming ones on the 22nd, that is just a certification workshop. The 24th is a workshop as well, and that is for the ITB RFP process. And then the 9th of March is a workshop also. But we will have a networking event springtime, mid-April. And we'll have that date out to you shortly.
And are you thinking that's going to be in person or virtual?
That will be virtual as well. That's going to be Zoom for now. We were looking at probably maybe having an in-person event in the fall. We will have another event that's going to be more focused, and we will be coordinate that more with our partners, you know, the chamber, the economic development, other entities within the county.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
And in regard, and it was a question about the COVID testing, is that correct?
Yes. So if there are a business that offers COVID testing, drug testing, I'm not sure if that was on the list or not as far as what you guys use, but is that available?
We do have drug testing for our court, so that is a contract that we have. They can certainly reach out to us. We can let them know if that contract is getting ready to expire, you know, if it's going out for rebid, or give them the terms and conditions of that contract. So certainly reach out to us, because we do procure those services in some of those commodities as well. Yes.
Carol, speak to the RFP going out about the mobile vaccination.
Yes, we do have an RFP that will be going out probably within the next week or so. And we're looking for someone to do mobile vaccination on behalf of the county. We'll have a scope of work explaining what we're looking for, describing what we need here at the county. That is an RFP, so cost is not the only consideration that we have. So you would complete that package, submit it to us. We would evaluate it. If you're interested in that, certainly reach out to us. I think it would be great if you attended one of the workshop for the ITB RFP process. Part of that is that we want to ensure that we give you opportunity. That's what we do here at Central Services. But there is a process to that. So to make sure that your bid or anything you submit to us remains responsive, there's certain documentation per our code that we have to receive. So it's important that you attend the workshops, because you could have the best price, the lowest price for the county. You could have the best service, but if we receive your proposal late, we can't consider it. So if it's due at 3 p.m., if you submit it to us at 3:01, we cannot accept that. If there's a document in there that's required and you submit a proposal and that document is not a part of it, your proposal will be considered non-responsive, because we have to keep all things fair and equal for anyone, for all proponents and bidders. So I certainly strongly encourage you, if you're interested in working with the county, any bids or proposals, to attend that workshop.
And Carol, your how to do business, does that strictly focus on the county and in partnership also with the water authority, because they have their own procurement process, correct?
Right. Each county or each entity, such as the water authority and all the cities within Clayton County, they all have a different procurement. Now, we do partner with them where they come to our event and we go to theirs. So a lot of times you're able to get the process for both the water authority and for the county at the same event.
All right. Well, I think we have gotten to all the questions. Everybody, of course, just keeps asking for copies of the slides. So we'll make sure everyone gets a copy. Once we clean up the video, of course, it will be posted as well. So Commissioner Davis, do you want to close us out?
Sure. That's a lot of information we've covered. First of all, let me start by thanking you, Ariel, for really reaching out to establish these events. These events are not what's wanted, but what's needed here in Clayton County. What I want folks to know is that you have a government in place that needs you to become a part of this procurement process. You have a government that wants you to be successful in your ventures, but we have to know what you do. We have a lot of nonprofits that are out there. And as we had the warming shelter just in the last few weeks, we need to know what services you can offer the county. We as a county will never be able to outperform you in rendering services that you are an expert at. We just cannot do that, but we need to begin to establish some public-private partnerships where we're going to begin to take care of the citizens of our county. And I believe this is an informal type of public-private partnership that we're establishing with you. I want to thank COO Stanford. I want to thank Patrick and GK, and I want to thank Carol Rogers. This was information that was definitely needed, and we want to keep this going, this mission going for you all to take place. I put my email in the chat room for everyone to copy down if you need it. If you have any suggestions or any comments on this, we want to hear from you. We want to make this, every time you come on, we want to make this more beneficial. We want you to leave with something of substance that you can grow your business on. That's what it's all about. I'm not just your commissioner, but I'm also a small business owner as well as my wife. And I am registered with several counties here in the state. I've been registered for about the last 15 years with them. And the system has become, through Patrick and through Dietrich, a lot, and Carol, a lot less cumbersome than it has been in the past. And I can attest to that. So I want you all to get engaged here. I want you to begin to stay focused on your business. But the big thing too is remember what got you here and take care of them. And that's take care of yourself, take care of your family, and take care of your friends. The same way you are doing your business, you have to treat yourself the way as well and begin to take care of those things that are most important to us. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming, for participating in this event. And I want you to stay focused on your business, but stay engaged here with Clayton County, because we are friendly and want to be the key to having minority, women businesses, and local businesses engaged with us. So thank you all.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Thank you, Alzheimer's Services Center. And thank you, Patrick, Carol, and Dietrich. And again, this is Southern Crescent Women in Business, and you all have an amazing day.